just the fact that we are sitting here talking about it, and just the fact that we can get other people to talk about it, and it becomes a topic of conversation, is a good thing.
People talk about global warming, but I think often they don't really know what they're talking about.
I saw the Al Gore movie and I thought that was great.
Leonardo DiCaprio does a really good job. He's very involved.
I definitely think that a film like WALL-E could change people's ways.
At lunch, we go to this great place called Mexican. And in Mexican, they have a recycling bin.
Recyclable bottles and things, we always put in separate bags.
Put the plastics in one bin, put the cans in another bin, and the garbage is in another bin.
Probably I don't think I do enough as I probably should.
There's no evidence to global warming.
We could do a lot better.
I'm a great believer of the intersection of science and the arts. Where do the youth congregate? I mean, what are the youth interested in? Where do they get their news from? Do they get their news from Jon Stewart, or do they get their news from, watching Katie Couric on the evening news? Do they get their news from, from YouTube on the internet? Do they get their news from Twittering and talking to their friends?
The way I hear about and the way I know about my environment is usually TV and online and advertisements, but I can't see it like in the world. I can't see changing happening.
Well, I guess the influence of the media really depends on what stations you watch, but for me, I guess Sarah Palin had a big influence just because, people ended up making so much fun of her, so it ended up being like we could see what we don't want to do. But other than that, a lot of various films, many of which I haven't seen, but I did see, like March of the Penguins.
Probably Al Gore.
Al Gore.
Yeah, what was the Al Gore movie?
I am Al Gore. I used to be the next president of the United States of America.
Inconvenient Truth. Yeah, I never saw it.
Yeah, I saw the Al Gore movie and I thought that was great because that was really a stepping stone for me to understand about pollution and about green gas and everything like that.
I've seen The Inconvenient Truth. That was when it really started, I think.
So I think the opening scene in WALL-E was particularly applicable to American culture because our culture is so based on consumerism, and it was basically saying that we're producing so much waste that it's to the point where the entire planet will just be covered with our waste, and then we'll have to go off to space and use other planets and most likely cover them with waste too.
Day After Tomorrow, that movie, it was really good in explaining what can happen if we don't try to take care of our planet, and that had a fun and scary influence.
I saw that movie too, and it basically can show how the weather, if it's drastically changed, can have a huge impact on the lives of millions of people.
I definitely think that a film like WALL-E could change people's ways because it gives you a really harsh view of what the future could be. And I think it would probably have a really similar effect to An Inconvenient Truth because nobody wants to imagine our planet becoming like that. And I think a lot of people think that, especially in terms of global warming, like maybe it's just a natural phenomenon and they don't realize that it will eventually lead to this. We can't even think that far ahead, most of us, because it's just the norm these days, but we will start having to make restrictions because it will get to the point where it's nearly irreversible.
That movie was very important, and every scientific study that happens basically every night they show the polar bears on the evening news and the ice is melting. It's kind of sad, and it's all related, interconnected.
News clips and how they show, and when they show you on TV, I guess like polar ice caps, like when they're actually what's happening to the environment around there as it is melting.
I just listen to the news, CNN, MSNBC, different news stations I listen to, Fox News, and since I'm going to bring the non-liberal view to this, I heard Ben Stein saying that global warming, there is no evidence to global warming.
Yes, Jeremy is right, there's no actual evidence, as I believe, and so there's nothing you can really prove. But there are a lot of theories.
There is some evidence, such as the polar ice caps melting. Okay. I know I did say that already, but it is actually happening, and
that's just evidence of polar ice caps melting.
Yeah, but that's also evidence of global warming.
Still, a lot of people don't know specifically what the environmental problems are. They just kind of know what's advertised a lot. But like, people talk about global warming, but I think often they don't really know what they're talking about.
I think the media does a pretty good job of informing people, like on the evening news and everything, but I think ideally they would be bombarding us with it, but then again that would just be, I think, overkill. And I think media can do a certain amount, and they could do a little more, but I think at a certain point it's up to the people to just convince each other face to face about the issue.
Well, it's very hard for the modern media in terms of radio and television, the way we think about it every day in the news, to deal with environmental issues in any sort of depth. They're more headline services, because if you watch the evening news, you will never see more than 8 seconds of a sound bite. A long segment on the evening news is 90 seconds long. So you really can't depend on the evening news or the news, the business in general, to give you any kind of real news. On the internet, on the other hand, you can surf and go to places and read as much in-depth articles, many in-depth articles as you like, and you can learn a lot more by using the internet, because it's almost a limitless source. The problem with the internet is, whom do you trust? How do you know who's telling you the truth and who's just trying to give you a lot of propaganda? And that's usually the real problem with the internet, but you have to learn who to trust in any form of media. Documentaries are a very good source, because they take the time to go through the history of the environment and to trace back and to look forward and give you some real in-depth coverage. And interestingly enough, film and the entertainment industry has given us some of the most interesting paradigm-shifting movies that have actually changed the course of history.